Good afternoon and welcome to our midday briefing. We are starting a bit later than usual because, as you all know, we had a technical briefing following the college visit to India. We will therefore keep this midday relatively short. But let me begin with sharing with you the agenda of President von der Leyen for next week. And all the items I'm about to announce will be Brussels-based. On Monday, President von der Leyen will participate in the strategic dialogue on the future of the European automotive industry. On Tuesday, she will participate in a strategic dialogue on steel. And on Wednesday morning, the President will receive Mr. Ajay Banga, President of the World Bank, and then chair the meeting of the College of Commissioners, including the visit of Mr. Ajay Banga to the College. In the afternoon, she will participate in the signing ceremony of the Pact for European Social Dialogue. And finally, on Thursday, President von der Leyen will participate in the special meeting of the European Council. And this is all for the agenda of the President, as well as for announcements today. Therefore, we're ready to take your questions. Go ahead.
Hi, over here, Oliver Grimm with the Austrian newspaper Die Presse. Can you tell us where the Commission is with its plans on Nutri-Score?
Specific question, looking at the colleagues, if they have the information at hand. Anna Kaiser is joining me.
Nutri-Score papers. So the question was where we are with Nutri-Score. Well, we have our existing labelling rules in place. We are committed to providing transparent information, and we do respect the rights of citizens to make informed choices. And we are working extensively on food labelling. This includes scientific studies, public consultations, targeted surveys, and this has confirmed the complexity of this issue and highlighted the challenges of reaching common solutions. So at the moment, the Commission remains committed to working with Member States and stakeholders to engage in a comprehensive dialogue on the lifelong prevention of non-communicable diseases. And this includes addressing food reformulation, the impacts of ultra-processed products, and the effects of certain food marketing practices on the most vulnerable consumers. So this is where we are.
Oliver, you have a follow-up? Just 1 second, because I think we have a technical issue. Just flagging to the colleagues, apparently those following from remote cannot see us. Of course, hearing us is more important than seeing us, but still, let's try to see if we find a solution to the issue. We're working on it. Okay, great. Then those online, be patient a couple of minutes more. We will continue with the questions in the interest of time, and hopefully the video part will be solved soon. We are indeed on it. Oliver, apologies. Go back to you.
Hi, thanks. On French radio this morning on France Inter, we could hear that the Commission is withdrawing Nutri-Score after immense lobbying by the Italian food industrial complex, and that there was a political quid pro quo because Commission President von der Leyen needed the support of Madame Meloni's party Fratelli d'Italia. They are, as you know, very vocal about supposed assault of Brussels on Italian food traditions. And they would be worried that certain staples of the healthy Italian diet like the Nutella spread, for example, would probably not turn out particularly favorably under Nutri-Score. What do you make about these allegations?
We don't usually comment on these allegations made made around the European Union, our focus and our priority remains in the commitment to provide information in a transparent manner and respecting the right of citizens to be able to make informed choices. And I do not have anything to comment on the radio programme that you mentioned.
Oliver, a last follow-up, because I see many other hands raised. And now video should be working, I'm told. Good.
Is Nutri-Score dead? Like an obligatory European-wide transparent way of informing consumers about the health impact of the especially processed foods they buy in supermarkets?
We remain committed to providing consumers transparent information so that they can make their choices in supermarkets and elsewhere.
Other questions on this matter? Is it on this? Go ahead.
I realise, Razia Akoch, AFP News Agency, I realise I'm going to be repeating Oliver's question, because if I write a story and I say the EU remains committed, that's not going to be enough. So specifically on Nutri-Score, would it be correct to say that the EU remains committed to that? Otherwise, in a story, that ambiguity would suggest that the French radio story is correct. I really would appreciate clarification.
What I am able to tell you today on this issue is that we have a commitment to provide transparent information to our consumers, and we will continue this work in cooperation with our member state to arrive in a solution that is the best for, first and foremost, for the consumers and to everybody who will have to implement these.
Other questions on this? Go ahead.
Hi, Gerardo Fortuna from Euronews. It's a follow-up on both questions. You can comment on reporting from this radio, but still, in a technical briefing, a Commission official said that the Commission won't tackle the food information to consumers on the nutritional aspects, but rather on animal welfare and another thing that I don't remember, product origin. So all the efforts of the Commission on labeling food information to consumer will be, I mean, it's a technical briefing, so technically it's background, but I can't mention the official, but the Commission position is that the nutrition information, they're off the table. So it's not commenting on the show, but it's commenting on a Commission official statement.
Look, if it was a technical briefing, I don't think it's adequate for us to continue to engage. Anna-Kaisa has already said what she could say on the topic. Perhaps we can discuss the matter after or be in contact bilaterally if we have more to share at the same level to the reference you're making. Let's keep the references at the right level. Any other question for Anna-Kaisa on the files she covers? It's for Anna-Kaisa? Go ahead then. Apologies, perhaps I had another hand on the same matter from remote. So I'll first take Tommaso from remote and then I'll come back to you, sorry.
Yes, good afternoon, Tommaso Gallavotti in Kronos. It's a follow-up on Nutri-Score. Apologies for insisting, but does the Commission think that the Nutri-Score is a way to provide transparent information to consumers? Because, I mean, it is debatable because in Belgium, for example, Belgian French fries are sold with the green A, which, I mean, they are A if you don't fry them, but you nearly always fry them. Thank you so much.
No, as I was saying, our priority is always our consumers and what they eat and and how they're able to make the decisions on when they're making a purchase decision at shops, at restaurants, etc. So we have done extensive work on food labelling, and this has confirmed how complex this issue is, and highlighted also the challenges on reaching common solutions. But overall, our priority remains the consumers and being able to provide them with transparent information to help them with making their choices.
Tommaso, a follow-up.
Yes, apologies again. I understand that you're not allowed to say that much, but from your answer, I understand that, I mean, the Nutri-Score is too simplistic. It makes things too simple for a complex matter like nutritional values. Thank you so much.
So what was the question in that one?
That is your interpretation, Tommaso. Of course, Anna-Kaisa has shared our position, and of course you're free to interpret it as you consider best. Let's go back to the other question we had for Anna-Kaisa. Thanks.
Angela Scoogens from TVP World. It's regarding the second anniversary of the 2023 Tempi train crash. Anna-Kaisa, you were quoted in your active story today, and you said the EU was actively addressing key shortcomings in Greek rail safety infrastructure. What are these shortcomings, and does the EU executive want to comment more broadly on the protests in Greece today? Thank you.
On the protests, I do not have any comment to make. On the 2-year anniversary, there was a report that came out yesterday by the Hellenic Air and Rail Safety Investigation Authority, and to mark the conclusions of this independent investigation into the causes of the tragic accident in Tempi in Greece 2 years ago. So the report also confirms the existence of systemic problems in the functioning of the railway sector in Greece, and that urgent improvements are indeed necessary. And the Greek government has developed and is implementing an action plan that aims to address these shortcomings. And there is good progress that has been done in the implementation, and Greece reports bi-monthly to the Commission on the progress. And we obviously follow this very, very closely with the Greek authorities.
Thanks. Other questions on this? No? Other questions for Anna-Kaisa? Not the case either. Thanks. Other questions for us today on different matters? Many hands raised. Let's start here from first row. Thanks.
Probably my question is for Anita. Valentina Vasilyeva, Voice of America. Today is supposed to be a quite important meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. Since EU following all these peace consultations and etc., what do you expect from this meeting? What would you like to hear, especially from the American side? Yesterday we saw that Donald Trump didn't call Zelensky dictator, which is a big change already. So do you expect any other changes in this regard?
Thanks. Questions for Anwar today, but of course we are aware of the meeting. We follow closely what happens in relation to Ukraine, and our position has been crystal clear from the start and continues to be. We all work for a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. So that is the approach we continue to have in all matters that relate to Ukraine. But Anwar.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Arena, and thank you for the question. Indeed, our position has always been very clear. Nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, and nothing about Ukrainian security without the EU. Ukraine security is the EU security. Now, vis-à-vis the US, because this is the angle of your question, the EU and the US have a common interest in a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, a peace through strength. We must put Ukraine in the strongest possible position ahead of any talks. And what is important now is to ensure that we do not basically walk into the traps that Russia is setting up. That's what we can say in terms of EU and US common interests vis-à-vis Ukraine. Thanks.
Thanks. Other questions relating to Ukraine? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, you, second row.
Tetiana Vysotska, European Pravda, Espresso TV, Ukraine. My question concerns the future summit of European leaders on 6th of March. there are some rumors or information that leaders during this summit will appoint a special envoy to participate in possible negotiations with Russia. And I would like to know, what do you know about that? Is it really in the schedule of the leaders? How it will happen? Is there any consensus candidate or list of candidates? Will they vote, or it will be Kaya Kallas maybe? Actually, do you have any new information about possible next negotiations and role of Europe in these negotiations? Maybe Volodymyr Zelensky promised to von der Leyen in Kyiv that Europe will participate, or something. Any invitations from any side?
Thank you very much. Look, I will not speculate at this stage what the UCO that you are referring to on 6th of March will lead to, or the 28th of February, and let's keep it like that. So I will not take any guess. And I think, I'm afraid that's all I can say at this stage. Then, in terms of Ukraine, you mentioned the peace. If you can just elaborate on the second part of your question, please. Thanks much.
Any constructive proposals, invitations for peace, for participating in peace negotiations to Europe, from Ukraine, from US, from, I don't know, Russia?
So basically, ministers at the FAC, so basically the last one that we just had, discussed the new defensive initiative to support Ukraine with ammunition capabilities, and this discussion will continue in the extraordinary UCO in early March. I will again reiterate what I have just said, in the sense that our position has always been very clear, that nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, and nothing about Ukrainian security without the EU, because Ukraine's security is the EU's security. And I think that's quite crystal clear. Thank you.
Other questions on Ukraine? Go ahead.
Thank you for the floor. Vitaly Sizov, UATV. If security of Ukraine is European security, which role could play EU in security of Ukraine? Could EU be like the leading power for peacekeeping mission, some mission under the umbrella of EU? Not some particular countries, but EU like the main provider. Thank you.
Look, in terms of EU's role, maybe we should take a step back and look at the bigger picture and have maybe a macro understanding of what we're talking here since the start of the invasion and since the aggression. The EU and its member states have been the largest overall donors in support to Ukraine. So that's a fact. This is shown in our military assistance, but also macro-financial and humanitarian support, as well as reconstruction and reform assistance. In terms of figures, we have been supporting Ukraine with 135 billion euros, and specifically over 49 billion euros in terms of military support. We also trained 73,000 Ukrainian troops. So the figures speak for themselves. Regarding the second part of your question, you mentioned basically peacekeeping troops, right? Look, this is the competence of the member states, and it is not for us to make proposals in this regard. We do know that Ukraine needs more ammunition, stronger air defense, and more support for its own defense industry. We must give Ukraine what it needs to win this war, that's clear, and this is our priority today. But again, going back to the issue that you have been raising, this is up to the member states to decide about sending troops.
Thanks, Anwar. I see no other questions in relation to Ukraine. Other questions on foreign affairs matters? Yes. Always second row, and then just behind. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Beka Bergashvili from Interpress News, Georgia. My question is related to this Russian Foreign Intelligence Service statement, and as they say that European Union is financing demonstration in Georgia, and they pay 50,000 euros, and each participant of the people who will go on demonstrations, they are paying 120 euros per day, and as they say, they are trying to brainwash the Georgian people with this. They pay money for the bloggers, journalists, etc. So what's your statement about these accusations? Thank you.
Thank you. Short statement, this is a pure fake. Longer statement, this disinformation campaign that is put forward by Russian-linked news outlets clearly aims to manipulate the debate and to sow distrust. These allegations against the EU are completely unfounded. The EU condemns the violence against peaceful protesters and calls on the Georgian authorities to reverse their course of action and re-engage on the EU path.
Thanks, Anwar. Other questions relating to Georgia? Not the case. Other questions on foreign affairs? Go ahead.
Thank you, Anwar. My question is concerning the degrading situation on... I'm here. Okay, thank you. My question is on the degrading situation on insecurity matters in North Kivu, because as you know, yesterday there were blasts in Bukavu during rally of peaceful citizens, and 11 people were killed, 65 are seriously injured. Now, in this regard, in this new context of further degrading of security situation, would it accelerate the decision-taking process of the European Commission concerning the memorandum? Would it evoke some further rapid reactions from your side?
Thank you very much for the question. Look, we are completely seized of the matter and we are closely following the situation. The latest Foreign Affairs Council is another proof that we are fully mobilized at the highest level in the sense of foreign ministerial level, and the issue has been discussed. It was on the agenda, and as the High Representative has said it, she's fully aware the situation is very grave. These are her own words, and the situation and the region is on the brink of a regional conflict. Territorial integrity is not negotiable. We need to be clear about that. In DRC, the same way it is in other parts of the world, because the UN Charter applies everywhere. Now, at the FAC, there has been a political decision to implement sanctions dependent on the situation on the ground that we are following in line with what you have said. We have urged Rwanda to withdraw its troops, and regarding the MOU that you have mentioned, the High Rep has been also clear in the sense that this MOU regarding critical raw material will be under review. So we are fully seized of the matter, and basically discussions are ongoing, and we'll revert back as soon as we can and as soon as we have anything to add. Thank you.
Thanks. Anna, you have a follow-up?
Thank you. Very short. Does it mean that we have to wait until the next Council of Foreign Ministers to decisive decisions, conclusions, or we can expect, for example, individual sanctions already during period before the next Council?
Thank you. So as I said, the last Foreign Affairs Council has seen a political agreement at ministerial level, and basically this is also what happened in previous FACs on other issues, political agreement first, and then basically technical level should take care of the next steps. I will not prejudge here what the next steps will be, whether sanctions or any developments will materialize at the next FAC. That's too premature to say, so I will refrain from doing so. But if you have any further questions, including on the MOU, basically Guillaume would also be keen to take that. But that's what I can say from my perspective. Thank you.
Thanks. Other questions on this specifically? Lorenzo?
Can you remind us what the MOU foresees concerning the assistance that the EU is going to give to Ukraine for the extraction of the minerals, for the kind of the kind of abilities that you need to do this. Thank you.
Lorenzo, sorry, wrong MOU. I know you just arrived. We have closed the Ukraine chapter. You were now speaking of a different MOU. So if still of interest, you can discuss with Leah bilaterally, because we have already closed the Ukraine chapter for today. Other questions on this matter specifically? Not the case. Other questions on foreign affairs? Not the case either. Other questions for us today? Go ahead.
Thanks, Ariana. Nicholas Wallace for your active. Last night, President Trump announced that the US and the UK would renew negotiations on a free trade agreement. So I have a two-part question. The first is the prospect of a free trade agreement between the UK and the US in tension with Sir Keir Starmer's desire for a closer trading relationship with the EU? Second, is the EU being outflanked by the British? Thank you.
Look, it's an agreement between two sovereign countries that are not part of the European Union, so we're not going to comment on any possible negotiations they're having. Other questions for us today? I have a couple from remote, and then I'll come back to the press room. David? David?
Hello, can you hear me?
Now we hear you and see you.
It's for Olaf. It's on trade as well, so it's related. It's on the steel safeguards. So we've got the US, obviously their tariffs, and then the steel safeguards. Can you confirm whether the EU has presented its changes to the steel safeguards to the WTO today, or has not yet? Thank you.
Thanks. Olaf today is not here, so it's Thomas replacing him. Let's see if he can answer already. Steel was also discussed in yesterday's midday briefing, so perhaps you want to also watch back there, but on this specifically.
Yes, indeed, and Paula also responded to that question a couple of days ago, that until we have concrete tariffs on the table, we cannot comment further at this stage.
Thanks, Thomas. Other questions on trade? David, you have a follow-up.
Yeah, it's not on the tariffs, it's on the steel safeguards. So there were changes to the steel safeguards, and those were perhaps presented today to the WTO, or perhaps not. I just wanted confirmation whether that's yes, they were presented, or no, they're not. Thank you.
David, we will have to check on this specific question because we don't want to give you any misleading information. Therefore, we will be checking and reverting this afternoon still on this. Other questions on trade? Is it on trade? Go ahead.
Kind on trade. Still Gerardo from Euronews. EU Commissioner Oliver Várhelyi was in Washington. He's in Washington, hopefully sleeping because it's quite early now. He was in a meeting yesterday with two senators, quite pro-Trump, that had some stances in the past in favor of tariffs. So I just want to know if he's on a mission by the Commission, or is just there for the task of his main portfolio, and if von der Leyen is in contact with him to see what they discuss and so on.
Look, as far as I'm aware, the Commissioner is in the US having meetings related to his portfolio, to the competences within his portfolio. I don't have a debrief of the specific meeting you're referring to. You would have to look into that. I cannot also confirm immediate contacts between the President and the Commissioner, considering that they're in two complete different time zones. Of course, the President is always in contact with her college. I'm not sure if this meeting took place last night, if they were already in contact or not, but in any case, there are multiple occasions, and the President will be made aware. As I said, the Commissioner, as far as I'm aware, is having meetings related to his portfolio specifically. Other questions for us today, for Thomas actually, since he's here with me, also on his other files. Not the case. Thanks a lot. Other questions for us today on different matters? Not one last. Vincenzo, you get the last question of the day.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Oh, great. So I have a couple of questions on migration. So maybe for Markus. The first is related to the Austrian coalition government agreement that states that Austrian government would like to to size asylum seekers' belongings upon arrival to cover some of their maintenance costs, such as accommodation. Is this in line with the EU law? First question. And then also that in the event of an increase in asylum figures, Austria will reserve the right to stop accepting asylum claims. Would you remind us, please, how and when it's possible for member states to trigger the Article 72 clause and so to suspend the asylum system, basically? Thank you very much.
Thanks. Marcos is not here today, so actually it would be for Guillaume, but these are agreements at such an initial, well, not agreements, but statements made such an initial phase that is our usual practice not to be commenting on them. It's discussions ongoing, proposals we'd never comment at this stage, and as you know from the past, we're not going to be giving an explanation of the rules here during midday. If you want and you have an interest, of course, the team can be in touch with you later to explain how the rules work. And with that, we bring to an end this midday briefing. I wish you all a very nice weekend, and I would like to thank you for your attendance, to the interpreters, the colleagues, and shout out to Josephine, who today did really the impossible to make us be able to do the midday briefing, and all the colleagues over there. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.